If you enjoyed this video, subscribe. It helps with the channel a ton. What's poppin', everyone? Today we'll be diving into something that I'm very passionate about. I'm actually so angry about it that it's been bothering me for these past couple of months. Netflix has a lot of issues. Don't worry, I have my fair share of reasons and critiques that I'm going to be getting into this video, so stick around and, don't just hate on me. Just remember, at the end of the day, this is just my own opinion, of course. Many people are upset at Netflix right now, rightfully so, but if you still love the streaming service, by all means, keep loving it. That's totally okay. That's your own opinion. Do I care? Anyways, let's get back to the video. I also think a lot of people are catching on to how awful Netflix can really be sometimes. From the jacked up pricing for the standard Surface to laying off so many of their employees in huge sprees. A good chunk of them from the animation department too. The lack of revenue is really all their fault. So let's take a closer look at why Netflix has been so problematic as of recently. For starters, let's look at the pricing ranges. For Netflix standard ad-free plan, it is nearly $16? What? Don't worry, you have a cheaper alternative though. You have Netflix Basic with ads. Who the hell wants this? Or the basic plan, which won't let you stream in HD. Well, don't worry, because as of November they changed the quality to 720p. Why wasn't that the pre-existing standard for this plan? I mean, can you be any more stingy? As for the ads, I understand they have to make money somehow, but really it's just making people want to switch over to the standard plan, which everyone knows is god-awfully expensive. I think what made Netflix so popular in its earlier days was its more affordable price range and the fact that there was no ads, kind of distinguishing itself against cable at the time. This sort of allowed for a more binge-worthy type of content style that Netflix actively promotes to this day, which is something I do want to talk about later in this video. The advertisements and the lower resolution could just be enough to make people really want to switch to the standard version of this. I honestly just don't see why 720p isn't the standard to start off with for basic. It really feels like it should have been a given, considering any other sort of resolution lower than that wouldn't be very watchable or fun to watch. And God knows Netflix wants us to know how much they spend on their effects. It's really all this one big drive to just have the people pay for a much better version of the Netflix subscription. Unfortunately, the standard plan for Netflix is extremely costly, and as of right now is the most expensive out of all the other streaming services. From their perspective, I can see how putting ads in a way making people want the better alternative is a clever strategy, but it is a real shame that the standard is so expensive at the end of the day. Think of the broke college students. No way in hell they're gonna be paying that. Oh well, at least we could still share accounts and use other people's Netflix, right? Right? Right?
Michael! Don't leave me here! Michael! Michael! Help me!
Thankfully, as of recently, the whole internet is bullying Netflix into rethinking their whole disgusting little program that they wanted to ensue. But at the end of the day, the fact that it was even in a test trial is kind of worrying. They still are talking about cracking down on this password sharing thing, which, like, okay, I understand a huge majority does this, like half of the subscribers do. I understand how this can be a lot of potential missed out profit, but can you blame them? With your extremely expensive prices, it's unrealistic to believe that most people are going to want to help out their friends or family by sharing one account. People generally like that they have the freedom to just share accounts like that. Let me shine some light on the policy that got hated so much. Don't worry, it got hated for a very good reason. If this really went through, you would have to log in on the same Wi-Fi that the account is using and watch something at least once every 31 days. On that same account, on that same Wi-Fi, on that same device. What? They rolled out this model in Argentina, the Dominican Republic, Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. I suppose using these countries as trial runs. But literally, due to the amount of backlash this got, they're now claiming it was an error. We all know this is fake. They obviously are just going back to the drawing board because they got so much hate for it. And for good reason, this policy was so strict. They really put the hammer down on this one. Thank God for bullying. I understand that they need to make more profit, of course. They lost like 90 million subscribers last year. But that being said, with inflation and high competitions, since everyone and their mother is now making a streaming platform, would it kill you to lower your prices? Maybe that could draw those subscribers you lost back. Look, As for laying off employees, I understand sometimes it's called for in order to keep a company afloat, but laying off 3% of your staff? Gee, I wonder why you would even need to do that. They have also downsized their animation team, but still claiming they will make high quality animated features. I'll give them this, they have managed to make high quality so far, but I suppose only time will tell if that decision was for the best. Netflix also just has an issue of dropping movies to a point that they are so notorious for it. Come on, we all know that Netflix just drops everything. Netflix's catalog too, they have a decent arrangement of shows. You have the hit ones like Stranger Things, Squid Game, and yes, even you, Dahmer. But in ways, some of these shows are more geared towards the long-term viewers of Netflix, and they don't really always bring people in. And let's be honest, Netflix has its fair share of really trash content too. And the binge watching strategy that they adore is the very thing that I think could be biting them in the butt too.
That's the saddest thing I ever heard.
This is definitely more personal niche, but I feel like binge watching just isn't good. I'm certainly not the only one who thinks this too. It's regarded as like the fast food of entertainment. There are a few issues with binge watching. One of them being, the moment a new show drops all of its episodes, some crazy person's gonna stay up all night watching every single one of those episodes. And you know what that's gonna do? That's gonna strike fear into the people's hearts that they need to start finishing this show as quickly as they can, because they don't want to get spoiled. And before you knew it, everybody's seen the show in less than a week. And after that week, people immediately move on to the next best popular thing. That's it. Nobody retains anything they just watched. It's over before it even begins. This doesn't allow as much hype to be built up for this show. But the episode per week, or even episode per, a certain amount of space in between, always allows for more hype to be built up and for more people to actually talk about this. You can see this in the success of shows like The Boys or The Last of Us. Those end up garnering long periods of hype because their episodes are spaced out and not all dropped at once. Even from a business standpoint, wouldn't you want this? You would want people talking about your original show for as long as they can. You want to milk this thing dry for all I care. But people just don't care about binge-worthy shows for as long as they do with other shows that are more spaced out between their episodes. With spaced out episode schedules, this allows more people to get in the loop of it and not be so potentially spoiled. It's just so much more practical. I understand Netflix was basically built off binge-worthy content, but they need to shake things up a bit. You can almost see there was an attempt made with Stranger Things Season 4 as they split it up into 2 volumes, but it wasn't all that effective, I feel like. If they did an episode per week formula, that would build up so much more hype and would make the ending to Stranger Things so much more fulfilling because you'd waited so long to see what would happen. And considering it's like a feature-length film at that point, it would be worth every single minute. Let's be honest, some of us were watching Stranger Things and we finally finished it in like a whole day, and we're sitting there to ourselves thinking, now what? Now we gotta wait a whole other year till the next one comes out? Even longer than that? Hey, I love binge watching content. Yippee. Now look, I'll acknowledge, some people do really like binge watching content. I can totally understand that. It's so nice to have everything at the palm of your hands. You can just keep watching away till your little heart's content. But as a business practice, it's just so much smarter to go to the more spaced out schedule. This is just my own opinion, but I do feel like it is hindering on the potential that Netflix could be getting if they did this schedule. For what it's worth, I do think Netflix has done some good things and has some really good content on there. But these little niches just start to pile up. And at the end of the day, Netflix is the most expensive alternative. There's so many other streaming services out there with arguably better content. And it's sort of easy to see that Netflix is sort of falling short now. They do have content to back up their subscribers staying, but do they have that much to keep pulling them in? I'm just not sure about that. And you could see it all over that these issues are starting to put cringes on people's faces. With restrictive policies and bad decisions continuing, and the ever-growing stronger competition that gets bigger and better by the day. Netflix needs to fix things up, or else they're gonna fall off the board and become just as forgotten as the ones they dethroned.